Hello, Internet. It's Jen T. Grace here, founder of Publish Your Purpose Press, and I am back for day number 18 of our 30-day marketing challenge. So once again, our marketing challenge is to double your book sales. So regardless of what you've sold in the last 30 days, I want you to double it in this current 30 days. So we're on day 18, so we're well past this halfway point of our 30-day challenge. And today's tip, number 18, is I want you to find creative ways to engage with your audience. And now what I mean by that is that so often you'll see people just actively posting on social media. And when I say actively posting, it means if you go to your social media account, it's fairly active and up to date. So we've talked in past tips about this whole strategy around being everywhere and how that doesn't always work for all of us. And so being everywhere doesn't necessarily help you unless you're active and engaged. So if you have a Twitter account or an Instagram account or some other random social media channel that popped up and then kind of never really took off, Google Hangouts maybe, when we're looking at those, or not Google Hangouts, Google Plus, when we're looking at those outlets, thinking about your potential reader. So say your potential reader is a huge Pinterest person and your book lends itself pretty well to Pinterest. Maybe you have charts, graphs, things like that in it. When you have an account on Pinterest, but you are not active on it, your potential reader, just because they like Pinterest, that might be the reason why they're like, oh, let me see if this author's over here. It's not to say, like, this is not applicable for everyone's book. This is just a specific example. So if we're thinking about, you have this reader super engaged, they go to your Pinterest board or Pinterest account or whatever it's called, and they look for you, and they see that you have not updated that in 2 years. They are going to think that something is wrong. It's not usually, that someone's like, oh, it's just out of date. Like, they're going to be like, what's wrong with this? Why isn't it updated? Even if you have a super robust and active YouTube channel or a super robust and active Instagram page, they're just looking at it from the place that they were looking to engage with you. If they went to that Pinterest page and they saw that one did not exist, then they would go to a different channel to say, oh, I wonder where I can find that author. Maybe they would go to their second place of choice, and maybe it's Instagram. And then they get to your Instagram and they're like, oh, this is amazing. This author's super active. They're sharing their information. They have these tips or sheets that they're giving away, whatever it might be. You're better off not having a channel or a page at all if you are not going to keep it up to date. So I would take an assessment. This is related to this tip, but I would do this as a step. I would take an assessment and go to all of your social media platforms. And you might want to use an incognito window in whatever browser you use and search for yourself and just put your name and then whatever the channel might be to see what might come up. So you might have old dead pages that you forgot about. You might have groups on platforms that you forgot about. There might be some platform that is still really active in a very niche community that you've not looked at in years. So do yourself a favor and go and kind of clean up all of that stuff. So that's part of this tip. The other part of this tip is engaging with your audience. So now that you've kind of done a digital cleanup in the landscape, and honestly, if you're not actively promoting and using the pages, you're better off just making them inactive. You don't have to delete them for forever, but I would definitely kind of make them inactive. So clean up all the carnage that's kind of laying around. And then I want you to figure out some creative ways that you can engage with your audience. And when I say engage, it's really finding something that works for your audience in particular. What happens is that we see that everyone is doing webinars. And instead of thinking about what do our readers want, we just put together a webinar. Is that the type of format that your readers are looking for? Maybe yes, maybe no. So I wouldn't just kind of follow trends and just say like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to go start doing this thing. I would really get some data around, is this where your people actually are and the type of content that they're looking for? And you could just reach out to clients that you serve or people in your network and just ask the question rather than jumping in with misinformation that's actually not going to help you to your end goal. I have seen so many authors do such an awesome job at this. So for myself, when I was writing my LGBTQ books that were leading directly into my consulting business, I had just kind of an ongoing monthly webinar that I did. And that was exactly how my people wanted their information. And I asked people, I asked clients, I asked readers of my previous books, I asked people who wrote comments on my blogs, and I was saying, how do you want me to deliver information to you? And for them, they wanted webinars. So webinars I did, and I did it for years. And every time I did a webinar, I would have maybe 30 to 50 people on it. And I would always sell a few books, and inevitably something would lead to some kind of conversation that would or potentially could lead to a speaking engagement or consulting opportunity. So your people might like webinars. For PYP, in this publishing business that I have, webinars are not something that I do. It's just not something that I have found to be the best way that people want information. What I have found, which is why I continue to do these tips, is that people want bite-sized tips. And the writing challenge that I did last month, all of those tips were well under 7 minutes. These marketing tips are going over 10-minute mark usually, because it requires more information and more explanation to kind of tee up exactly what the tip is. So same person, two different businesses, and I have a very similar style in how I work with people regardless of which business, but I had very different marketing approaches for both. So I share that because you want to really be thinking about what works for your audience. So I know and adore Deborah Driscoll. So I hope you're watching this, Deborah. And so her book, A Series of Surrenders, it's a memoir, came out in January. I believe it was January. And she is doing Moments in May right now. So for her readers and her tribe and her audience, she is encouraging people to sign up to connect with her in these moments of May that she's doing. That is very specific to what she is doing. Another good friend of mine, Jennifer Brown, she has written 2 books. One is Inclusion, which was published through PYP, and the other one is How to Be an Inclusive Leader. And so for her, she is doing community calls. And I believe they're still happening I think it's Tuesdays and Thursdays. So twice a week, she's holding community calls for her community. And her goal is to just bring in as many people who are interested in hearing about her topic to find a way that she can serve those people. And they're doing it on Zoom, and she's got tons of people who join every single week to these community calls. And so that's how she's doing it. I know another author who is doing a free plus shipping strategy for his book. So anyone can get the book for free if they're willing to pay the shipping to get the book to them. And he's doing the fulfillment himself, etc. So I share all of these things because your engagement with your audience could look really different. It might be, let me go back. So I'm doing all of these tips, but additionally, I'm holding office hours every Tuesday at 4 p.m. I've had office hours, and I've been doing them. I think we're probably going into the 8th week of doing office hours. And it's for anyone who wants to show up and just ask questions around marketing, publishing, editing, etc., related to their book. There's no hard sell on them. It's just me engaging with whoever wants to show up and ask the questions that they have. Because I know that's how I can engage with my audience, because and if you're watching this, you have felt the struggle at some point, either the struggle of getting the book done or the struggle of marketing the book. So wherever you fall with this, I know that my audience needs information, and they need the ability to access that information by asking me questions directly. So I'm holding office hours all through the quarantine to just say, hey, whatever's on your mind, come bring it. So that's what's working for me. So as an author, as someone who has their content and their thought leadership out there, for someone who has an audience that you're engaging already, what are those creative ways that you can do it that's not just following what everyone else is doing? I think that's the key. My key message here is just don't follow the herd and just decide that you're going to come up with some complex marketing funnel that costs you a small fortune to set up, if that is not what your audience is actually looking for. So that's today's tip number 18, find creative ways to engage with your audience. And creative is the key here. Right now, we can do whatever it is that we want that makes sense for our audience. So just think through what that actually is. And if you don't know, ask your people. Your people always have opinions, and they will always happily help you in guiding, something that's ultimately going to be beneficial to them. So that's today's tip. Couple of reminders, as always, as I was just mentioning as an example, our office hours are still happening at 4 p.m. on Tuesdays. If you're watching this in the future, go to the website. We have a list of our active office hour times right there on the website. Additionally, you can join our WhatsApp group, and that is purely for accountability, whether you're participating in our writing challenge or you're participating in this marketing challenge. You can come in. It's supportive, where we have just a lot of people who are, championing and cheerleading what other people are doing. We had one woman who's part of our PYP Academy program, which is an online program, a group style, that helps people kind of walk through the process of getting their book self-published or published. And we had someone who went through the academy. She got her book out, and we're all super proud of her. And in the group right now, everyone is just cheering on her success. And I have people who are in my current academy who are buying the book from the student who was in the former academy. So that's the type of community environment that's happening in that WhatsApp group. So if you would like to be a part of it, the link is below this video. And then finally, the biggest of my calls to action is that I have a marketing mastermind that will be starting in just a couple of weeks. If you are looking for more hand-holding and support on how to execute a marketing strategy that will help you grow your business and increase your book sales, please fill out that application so that way I can get a sense of what would be most valuable for you. So that way, when I create this program, it's going to be something that delivers value, not something that I think is going to work, but may not actually. So that is everything for today. I will be back tomorrow for tip number 19. And all of this information is housed on the PYP website at publisherpurposepress.com/marketing. So if you've missed any of the past tips or any of the resources that I've mentioned, you can go to the website. It's very clearly laid out. You cannot miss it. And you will find everything there. If you have any questions, comments, something you want me to address in one of the next number of tips that we have to go, please just let me know and I will do my best. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you all very soon.